We could see an interesting phenomenon in the Pennsylvania and Ohio primaries, which are coming up next month. It's right around the corner. It's a little Donald Trump versus Ted Cruz rivalry. Trump's backing Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. Cruz is backing Dave McCormick. Cruz is also backing Josh Mandel, or was in Ohio. Trump has endorsed J.D. Vance. This is where we begin this week's Data That Matter and Data That Don't. Let's welcome in our Data That Matter brain trust political reporters, Mark Halperin and James Rosen. All right, everyone's heads are about to explode. Let's begin, gentlemen. It's great to have James join us for his first Data That Matter segment. Let's start with you, though, Mark, as our data expert and veteran here. We'll start with the number 2, and that's the number of Trump versus Cruz primaries we have coming up in May. And this matters because in both Pennsylvania and Ohio, the Cruz-endorsed candidates look like they'll beat the Trump-endorsed candidates if we believe the polls.
First of all, James, welcome. A pro tip, bring an abacus with you when you do this segment because the numbers fly pretty fast. Look, I'm not sure who's going to win either of those races, but Ted Cruz is much more popular with the base of the Republican Party than I think most people realize. There's a reason why he's not only his endorsement was sought by Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania and Josh Mandel in Ohio, but he's cut ads for them, done rallies for them. And although I think it's overstated how much President Trump would be wounded if he loses some of these contests, if Ted Cruz in those 2 key battleground states goes head-to-head with Donald Trump and he wins them both, there'll be other factors at play. But believe me, in Cruz land, they will notice.
Yes, and I'm sure Ted Cruz will find some way to rub it in gently, of course. All right, your data that don't matter, Mark, and that is the number 3. That's the number of upcoming appearances we're going to see from Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas on Capitol Hill. Why does this not matter? I mean, there's serious talk of impeachment out there.
Look, there'll be fireworks, there'll be fuel in the flames, and I think as interesting as the Republican attacks on the secretary, I think you'll see some pretty harsh questioning from Democrats during these appearances. But this doesn't matter. It'll create a lot of theater. I'm sure we'll have fodder for it here on Newsmax and elsewhere. But this problem, their immigration problem, is much bigger than the secretary. I think this is arguably the longest running failed policy with no significant changes that I recall in modern American history. The Biden folks simply don't have a policy for dealing with the border, and the secretary's 3 appearances will highlight that, but I don't think they're going to change it.
Yeah, under the bright lights, it's going to be a sweaty one for Mayorkas, figuratively speaking, I guess. But James, anything you want to chime in on when it comes to Mark's data?
No, I think he's astute to point to the divisions within the Republican Party, the endorsements between Ted Cruz and former President Trump being just one manifestation of it. But as the springtime rolls around, we're going to get a lot of hard data to see exactly who was more successful in the whole endorsement business and how much that matters to voters as we head toward the midterms.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point because, in a way, these candidates are more accessible to voters than ever before with social media and video clips and all this direct-to-voter reach they have now. Do endorsements matter anymore? We're going to find out. All right, let's go to James' data now. And I love where you went with this, James, because you picked the number 6. And we're talking about the number 6. That's the number of months it takes to double the amount of artificial intelligence computing power on this earth. So basically every 6 months, there's twice as many bots as there were before. And this made my mind explode, James.
Well, you still seem to be doing all right getting through the segment. However, what is important about this is that for AI computing power to be doubling every 6 months, it's significantly faster than the traditional computing power that doubled, according to scientists and researchers, for decades every 18 months. And now the really troubling question about this doubling of AI computing power every 6 months is whether or not any human beings at all, whether it's in China, where they are vastly outspending the United States in the race to harness AI computing power, as well as in other big tech categories, or in any other country or any other government, can for very long restrain this exponentially growing power of AI. The human race has been through many changes and evolutions over the years, but never one like this. I know that makes me sound a little like Kurt Vonnegut or Black Mirror, but I think it rises to the bar you set, John, of it matters.
No, I hear a lot. The Luddite contingency in both political parties is growing in strength, James, and I think you're tuned into that. Also, we have the data that don't matter here, and that's the number 1, which is the number of episodes of Gaslit that one needs to watch to realize the time would be better spent just reading your book, Strongman, which is on the same topic, the topic being former Nixon AG John Mitchell and his wife Martha and the secrets of Watergate. So, James, of course, your first appearance here on Data That Don't Matter and Data That Do. A book plug for you. How appropriate.
And I was subtle enough to put it in the doesn't matter category.
I love it.
But yes, there's a new movie on Starz starring Sean Penn as John Mitchell, Julia Roberts as Martha Mitchell. Sean Penn told the New York Times this week that he relied on my book for research for the role. It doesn't seem to have been of much use. This movie revives the false notion that Martha Mitchell, who was a sad, sick lady beset by alcoholism and mental illness and who used to call up members of the press and say outrageous things at all hours of the night, was some kind of heroine or truth teller. My book relied on the Mitchell's FBI files, on their divorce records, and many other sources to show that she was just a sick, sad lady and was not a teller of great truths about the Nixon administration. In fact, when she was summoned for Watergate testimony, she rambled for 130 pages in deposition transcript without shedding light on anything, dirty or otherwise, in the Nixon administration. I think, and by the way, some have attacked my writings on Martha Mitchell as somehow being sexist. They really aren't. It's just the truth. Yeah. I think the makers of Gaslit are being sexist and are gaslighting the American audience by making a movie that distorts the reality of Martha Mitchell's troubled life, and also in so doing insists that she must be played by and we must conceive of her as someone who looks like Julia Roberts. So don't watch Gaslit because A, it doesn't matter, and B, it will only pollute whatever understanding you already have of the Watergate scandal.
I love it. The value provided here.
James?
Don't save people time. It looks enticing. I was interested in it, but I'm going to read your book again, James. All right. Now
James, I got to say,
thank you, John.
It's impossible to make a good movie out of a political book. Take it from me.
Fair point. Mark Halperin. All right. Let's talk about my data. Let's talk about my data that matter now, and I'm going with 98.7%. That's the percentage of Twitter employees who donated to Democratic candidates. Just 1.3% donated to Republicans or independents. So obviously, I think the conversation is going to change, gentlemen. That's a pretty significant number.
John, when you sent me that number earlier, my main reaction was, I'm surprised it was that low. Look, Silicon Valley is dominated by liberals, and for a while, these big social media networks valued and emphasized profit over ideology. And Donald Trump caused the derangement syndrome that went from coast to coast, and they elevated ideology. And we see now the result, at least in the case of Twitter, is somebody apparently has had enough.
Like James, I had the same data point for my data that don't matter, and that's number one, as in the one account that will not be going back on Twitter. And I think we can agree it's kind of like Augusta. Trump to Twitter is like Tiger to Augusta National. Without Trump on Twitter, it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be what it once was, James.
Well, there are two classes here in official Washington who would be most excited to see Donald Trump not return to Twitter. One is his fellow Republicans, who do not want to go back to the days when every candidate and every member of Congress was stopped in a hallway to be asked about and held account for the latest outrageous thing that Donald Trump said on Twitter. The other class of citizens here in official Washington who would not like to see this happen, and not really for ideological reasons, more for pragmatic reasons, is the group known as reporters, the Beltway media, simply because Mr. Trump had the habit of tweeting at odd hours, weekends, forcing whole legions of reporters, producers, and cameramen, and printers, and editors, and all sorts of people into motion. And I think one thing about the Biden administration, while it does trend toward dullness, that reporters and others around official Washington appreciate is that he leaves his schedule blank, empty, dark for the weekends, as does the vice president, and this gives that whole class of citizens time to spend with their families.
A very diplomatic way of saying that, James, and I appreciate that. Gentlemen, great to have you both with us. This was a lot of fun. We'll do it again next week.
Good to see you both.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.